Let me go!
Stay down. Let's get moving.
Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. So, today I got some interesting news for you from Australia. In Australia, just south of Sydney, like Australia's like sort of main city, there's a place called Wollongong. South of Wollongong, there's a place called Kiama, which is like a super affluent area. A bunch of rich cunts, as Jeff Goldblum would say, live there. Very waspy attitudes. Sort of like a wealthy coastal town that's got like a really nice harbour. It's got like pools that are right off the water, that sort of deal. Okay, so of that town, it is politically represented by an independent. In Australia, you have two main parties, Liberal and Labor. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, they're both left-wing parties. Basically, Liberals act as a control opposition for the left wing. They're meant to be a conservative party. In practice, they act as a controlled opposition. Anyway, the independent of this area, this rich area of Kiama, is the independent representative of this area is he's like a 7 foot tall, sort of blind albino guy called Gareth Ward. In the news recently, he has gotten in trouble for some of his appetites. His appetites appear to be twinks, just like allegedly Keir Starmer, which seems to be a common theme with all these fucking left-wing people, even though Gareth Ward's getting kind of picked on by both political parties because he's an independent. But anyway, I digress. Allegedly, he had picked up a young, just-turned 18-year-old twink dude, and against the twink dude's consent, sexually abused and raped him. The rape was not called rape. It's in Australia, it's called different. They try to soften the language. I don't know why. It's called sex without consent, and the sexual assault is called sexual abuse. It's just like the old George Carlin bit of like completely institutionalizing the language, just taking all of the rough edges out of the language, and somehow you make the acts seem not as bad. But the thing is, he recently got in trouble and went to court and a jury convicted him of 3 counts of sexual abuse, which, you know, I guess I don't know if it's different from sexual assault. Like, I think it's just Australia's cuck communism softening language. But 3 counts of sexual abuse. I think it was like 2 counts against like this 26-year-old and another count against the 18-year-old, and 1 count of sex without consent, which, as far as I'm concerned, that sounds a lot like rape, but whatever. For some reason, after the case, like, I always assumed it was the case that if a jury finds you guilty of a crime, they then arrest you and detain you until the sentencing hearing, at which point you're sentenced with how long in prison you need to stay, right? I always assumed that was the case. Apparently not. Apparently Gareth Ward gets to just, you know, walk out and be free until his sentencing hearing, which to me always seemed a bit strange. Like, how can you be certain someone at that point's not going to be a flight risk? I mean, fair enough, he's probably not going to be a flight risk. He stands out in a crowd. He's like a 7-foot blind albino dude. He'd stand out pretty much everywhere. He's not exactly going to flee to fucking Argentina and blend in like the Nazis, right? But yeah, like, so, recent news. Gareth, the independent representative from Kiama, has just been done. He's got done. But, like, look, fair enough, he's probably guilty because he's a giant weird albino, gay, sort of, not quite a pedophile, but sort of. And it's obviously a really awkward situation. And I'm not saying he's innocent, but I am saying, I bet you if you looked through the Labour Party, like particularly the queer section of the Labour Party, you would find a lot worse. Like, fair enough, picking up like a twink and then unconsensually, you know, having sex with them or sexually abusing them is pretty bad. Is it really as bad as, you know, for example, some in the Greens Party directly support Hamas terrorism, directly advocate for bringing in bunches of Afghanis, and if you've ever seen that British crime breakdown of crimes by country, you would see Afghanistan's top of the list there. I mean, vastly overrepresented in terms of, like, sexual assaults, rapes. I don't think they are for assaults. I think it's another Middle Eastern country for assaults. But sexual assault and rape, they are. And, like, statistically, you should bear some responsibility. Like, if you're advocating for bringing in, you know, let's say 27,000 Afghanis, you know statistically that within those Afghanis are overrepresented in terms of sexual assault and rape, and then a bunch of those 27,000, and I'm not saying all, but let's say a bunch of them then commit sexual assault, and you're a politician that advocated for bringing them here, like a weird Islamo-fascist lefty that advocated for the mass importation of, you know, Islam into Australia, you should be considered responsible, partially responsible, at least collectively responsible for the sexual assaults that those people then inflict. Your policy directly inflicted, well, those sexual assaults on people in Australia, right? That's worse than anything Gareth Ward's done. I mean, yeah, it's wild to me, right? Because, like, the situation with Gareth Ward's sexual assaults were, it was either political influence from other gay men within his party in Parliament seeking favour. So, right off the bat, one of them was a little bit like a Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein trying to get a role, but with government. So immediately one of them's like that. They're all gay. So right off the bat, we know gay people are vastly overrepresented in terms of dark tetrad. So that's sociopathic, narcissistic behaviour, that sort of thing. Manipulation, that sort of deal. The whole situation's really ugly. But look, we can't say he's innocent now. He's been found guilty by a jury. He should be the left's darling. He should be Labour's darling, right? He is disabled. He is blind. He's partially blind, I'm pretty sure. He's an albino, so he's obviously going to face a lot of stigma. And he's gay. Like, those are all checkboxes. Like, he should be the left's darling, but for some reason he's not involved with Labour. But, like, Labour should fucking love that guy. Like, he could only be more diverse if he was, like, black and a woman, right? He ticks, like, 3 out of 5 boxes for fucking Labour. But Labour seem to have, you know, politically gone after him. Yeah, it's fucking absolutely wild. And, like I said, like, the queer sections of Labour, like the far left, like Labour's already pretty far left, but the far left of Labour and the far left of Greens, check their fucking hard drives, please. I'm sure if you check their hard drives, you're gonna find shit on them, right? Fuck. Absolutely wild. But, you know, go after Gareth, I guess. I mean, one less twink abuser in the world in Parliament's a good thing. But, like, can we also go after all the ones in the Greens party, please? Yeah. And obviously, as bad as these were, it's not exactly what you picture a rape as, right? A rape is, you know, choking, physically overpowering, a hit or two in there, that sort of thing. It sounds to me like these weren't exactly that. And, like, let's be honest, even though he's 7 foot, he's also albino and he's also blind. He'd be pretty fucking easy to overpower, to get away from. Maybe he has some strength, because he's like 7 foot. Maybe he's got some length of limb, which would, you know, give him a bit of an advantage in striking. But he can't fucking see. So, like, what's gonna... it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But, like, as far as Labour are concerned, anything Gareth's done, Labour's done worse. Like, Labour recently just came out and... what did they... like, group denounced Israel for defending itself against Hamas terrorists, right? The Palestinians elected Hamas. Hamas is taken hostages, done a civilian massacre, started the Israel-Hamas war, hasn't released the hostages, using their own people against Israel, using them as human shields, deliberately trying to incite stampedes towards the aid stations so Israel shoot them out of self-defense, because you can't allow a stampede to come in. They've grenade attacked American and Israeli aid stations at night with grenades in order to reduce the amount of aid Palestinians get. The Palestinians at this point are fed up with Hamas and their, you know, shitty pro-civilian killing tactics. They're now also forming clans and fighting against Hamas. And then we have Australia's Prime Minister Albanese, possibly the worst politician in the world, and Penny Wong, our, what would you say, our Chinese influence bureaucrat, Chinese installed influence bureaucrat, publicly denouncing Israel. Fucking nightmare. by denouncing Israel, you're kind of voicing support for Hamas. And if you're voicing support for Hamas, like, that's fucking absolutely disgusting. Like, most Muslim countries are absolutely disgusting. But, like, Hamas in particular, they're killing Israeli civilians. They're doing their best to kill as many of them as they can through rocket attacks or whatever. They're also strategically trying to maximize the number of their own civilians killed by using them as human shields, inciting stampedes towards Israeli aid stations, starving them to death, like that sort of deal. Like, the whole thing is fucking gross. And then you've got the far left party of Australia, who's currently got the majority everywhere in Australia. You've got them voicing support for Hamas, even given these tactics, and denouncing Israel. Like, that's just fucking stupid. Like, it's evil, assuming they know what they're doing. I don't think they're smart enough to know what they're doing. I think they're fucking evil. And, like, meanwhile, in Syria, you've got Islam doing Islam things. You've got Sunni Syrian Muslims doing their best to ethnically cleanse Druze people. There's been some horrific videos there of, Syrian Sunni Muslims. Let's not fucking, whitewash the language here. There was one of a Muslim machine gunning a Druze man just as he was sitting on the steps. Like, just AK-47 just unloading on him, just killing him. There was another one of, like, 4 men, group stabbing, like, a Druze civilian in the neck until he died. And then one just yanking his hair up and trying to saw his head off. So they're also beheading people. There was another one of some Syrian Muslim dude trying to cut the heart out of... I think he succeeded. I think he got the heart out of another Druze civilian. Like, the absolute worst shit, right? This is just fucking horrible shit. It's like fucking... It's like Japan in Nanking levels brutal atrocity, right? Like, the Nazis didn't match this in most instances. In most instances, the Nazis, like, shot people or herded them into buildings to kill them. Like, this is brutal, barbaric shit that these Muslims are doing, right, in Syria. Albanese, Macron, Europe, completely fucking silent on it, which is pretty fucking unacceptable. Yeah, and like, I don't think he can make the case that it is all religious. Like, it is mostly religious, but the Alawites were a voting bloc that al-Assad, the Russian-backed Shia Muslim dictator that was in charge before Giuliani was, he was using the Alawites, which are another group getting massacred there. He was using them as a voting bloc. He was using Christians there as a voting bloc, and he was using the Druze there also as a voting bloc. So at its most brutal level, you can also look at it as an ethnic cleansing in terms of demographics for voting power. They're literally trying to distill the entire voting demographic down to Sunni Muslims in order to maintain power. And when you see all this, and you see Albanese completely ignoring this, and you see all of Europe completely ignoring this, and then you also see the mass importing Muslims into the free West, despite them being vastly overrepresented in terms of sexual assault and rape per capita, particularly Afghanis, of which Albanese brought in 27,000 of them. The whole situation with Gareth Ward, like, there's levels to this game, right? There's levels to this fucking evil game. Okay, Gareth Ward had some bad appetites, but he was a political independent. He wasn't part of Liberal or Labour. But his personal politics didn't do as much damage as Labor is currently doing. Like, locally, globally, within Australia, globally as well. Like, fair enough, they're bad, but they're interpersonal bad. They're not global politically bad. They're not global policy bad, if you know what I mean. But it's like that old Stalin quote, like, one death's a tragedy, a million's a statistic. You've got Labor doing... Who also, by the way, have presided over the largest fall in living standards in the free West in Australia. You've got them statistically doing the worst shit they can through policy, absolutely destroying Australia, destroying living standards in Australia, destroying the Australian way of life, increasing sexual assaults and assaults by mass importing the third world, particularly Muslims, particularly Afghanistani Muslims, which statistically they know will inflict sexual assaults on people and rapes on people, on women in their country. They are, they're meant to be the more feminist, far left party as well. So they're throwing that demographic under the bus as well. And then you've got Gareth Ward, weirdly greyly sexually assaulting and maybe raping like a couple of twinks. Like, which one's worse? Which one's doing more damage globally? And only one of them is getting punished by the law. Like, fair enough, Gareth, if he's done this shit, should go to prison. And it's like, theorised that he might be getting up to 14 years. It'll be interesting to see if he's going to get a slap on the wrist or not. Because recently, like, no one has any faith in Australian courts. Australian courts are absolutely dog shit. Recently there was a dude who got involved in like a machete fight at like a shopping centre, and he was like an immigrant, and he basically got released with no charges because the court said something like, oh, he's not going to follow my instructions anyway. Like, if he's not going to follow your instructions anyway, okay, put the little cunt in prison. Like, we don't want like a little fucking 15-year-old immigrant, or however old he was, with a machete running around potentially killing people because he's not getting punished by the law, because Australia fucking has some sort of white guilt thing about immigrants. Like, there's worse shit going on than what Gareth Ward's done. Like, fair enough, like, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for the gay community, and especially for the gay community in politics that are trying to seek favour through sexual favours and all that sort of thing. Seek position and favour through that. Like, Australia's whole political class is absolutely fucked. I pretty much reject any new law that they try to put on the books. But there's levels to this, and Gareth Ward as an independent wasn't doing as much damage as Liberals and Labor are, if you know what I mean. Like, there's levels to the amount of political damage these people are doing. Like, for example, there is like a definite number that we can extrapolate of the amount of sexual offences that the Afghanis brought in will inflict on the Australian population, right? In that UK study, what was it? It was like 60 sexual offences per 10,000 Afghanis that they managed to catch in that British study, right? So what's that? You would take, so 60 per 10,000, which is 6 per 1,000, and they got 27,000 of them in. So what's 27 times 6? That's like fucking 120 plus... Nah, I'm not doing maths in my head. Hang on, I'm getting a calculator. Okay, 27 times 6, 162. That's 162 sexual offences that Albanese has committed by proxy by bringing in 27,000 Afghanis. We've extrapolated their rate of sexual offences in the UK out. The ones that they were caught for anyway, because we all know the UK police turned a fucking blind eye to everything Muslim that they can, out of pure race cowardice. 162. Albanese, through policy, inflicted 162 sexual offences on Australians in Australia by mass importing 27,000 Afghanis. 162 sexual offences. What did Gareth Ward have? He had 4, and 2 of them were like Harvey Weinstein political power against a 27-year-old. Okay, there's worse shit going on. Like, Albanese's not in prison for his 162 through policy. You know what I mean? Like, there's levels to this. And, like, we don't even know what the national breakdown of the, like, million immigrants that Albanese's brought in. We don't know how many of them are Afghanis, which are, like, there's, like, 60 sexual offences per 10,000 Afghanis. Like, we don't know how many Afghanis there are, besides the 27,000 that he's brought in. And, like, in addition to those, like, we don't know how many Eritreans. Like, Eritreans are like 55 sexual offences per 10,000, so that'd be 5.5 per 1,000. Like, we don't know how many of them he's brought in. We don't know how many Namibians he's brought in. We don't know how many people from Chad or Moldova or Sudan or Burma or Congo or Albania or Angola. And, like, all of these have very significant per capita sexual offense statistics, right? Angola's, like, the lowest. It's, like, probably around 27 sexual offences per 10,000 people. And Afghanistan's the highest with their 60 sexual offences per 10,000 people. As stated, we already know Albanese is pretty much directly responsible for 162 sexual offences against Australians by bringing in 27,000 Afghanistanis. We don't know how many others have come from these, like, third world Muslim shitholes where sexual assault's kind of the norm. And even when you can find police that aren't completely paralysed by guilt, that actually arrest perpetrators of sexual assault. Like, there was a serious issue in the UK that they just weren't arresting all the people from the grooming gangs. There's still a large amount of people in the grooming gangs that just weren't caught. Like, and you have a very serious problem in the UK with that. These statistics have that taken into account as well. Like, it gets really fucked. And then, like, why isn't any media in Australia pointing this out? Like, Labor, through their policies, are inflicting sexual assaults on Australian women. Like, through their policies. Mass sexual assault. 162 with one policy decision to bring in 27,000 Afghanis. Oh, and by the way, the Afghanis, when they're here, are going to probably push for Sharia law, which probably means the erosion of your freedom of speech and religious freedom. Because they, whenever, Muslims are in a majority in a country, they persecute minorities in their countries and try to force convert them. It's like something like 20 out of 20 of the richest per capita Muslim countries all persecute Christians. So, I mean, make of that what you will. These policies by Labor are fucked. They're really bad. They're really bad, and they're doing really significant damage.